Dear Diary, I have a very, very, very troubling story to tell you today. One of the things I learned very early on in my life, which is why I've never wanted to live. Never. Wanted to leave this planet since I was 5, and I don't remember if I wanted to leave before then. I remember always disliking everywhere I was and almost every person I met because nobody has any integrity, nobody has any intelligence, nobody cares about anybody else. The human race is a really evil beast, as you are slowly learning. But one of the things that has destroyed me the most over the years is seeing my fellow activists, my fellow supposed activists, the alleged liberals out there and such, who pretend to be fighting for right and good and justice, are almost all fakes or hypocrites. Ralph Nader's a scumbag. I can go on and on for Ralph Nader. Martin King Jr. cheated on his wife, was a selfish scumbag. Gandhi did a lot of fucking sleazy things. All these supposedly good people, if you look closer, you find out most of them were they were flawed human beings. No, they didn't do unto others. Okay? I'm a flawed human being. I still do unto others every minute of every day. Okay? That's not a flaw. When you are a hypocrite, that's not a flaw. You should be put to death if you're a hypocrite, if you don't practice what you preach. Because again, remember, there's nothing wrong with having differences of opinion. Liars are people who do not believe their own garbage. You got that? Okay? It'd be one thing if the right wing wanted to argue their side of the story or their beliefs. But they don't. They don't believe anything they say. And hypocrites are the lowest form of life on earth. When Adelphino was getting sympathy from everybody because I was in jail, falsely charged with harassment, i.e. whistleblowing speech. And then Delfino, after we broke up, and I dumped her because she was such a liar, and I exposed all kinds of her lies to the community and her crimes, etc., she then had me arrested using false claims of harassment and deceiving the police, exactly as she had whined when other people did to me. You see, now everyone, like me or not, can say, or can't deny rather, you're right. I remember her saying how awful it was that you were jailed and how wrong it was, and then she did it to you years later. Game over. Right there. Game over. But let's not talk about Jessica Delfino, even though her and I do have a connection to Reverend Billy, which maybe I'll mention. We are gathered here today, dear listener, to expose bad behavior. One of the ways you can tell that my integrity is superhuman and I'm the most honest person of all time is you will see me attack my allies as frequently as I attack my opponents. I wrote an essay in the 80s called You Must Always Bite the Hand That Feeds, right? So many of my friends will say, like, why are you attacking your friends? You should be attacking Bloomberg or the government. It's like, because that would make me a sleazebag. If I cut my friends slack or my loved ones slack, but went after my enemies for the same thing, I'd be a scumbag. I'd be a two-faced hypocrite. I'm going to attack people I like and respect as much as I'm going to attack people I despise. I've defended Bloomberg and Giuliani when people have said things that were negative about them, that were false. I am fair to the end. I would rather die miserable and alone than lie to protect my friends when they're doing something unethical. Now, let's qualify that. There are many illegal things my friends do every day that I don't think are unethical. I don't think cheating on your taxes is unethical. I don't think smoking pot or underage drinking is unethical or premarital sex. I'm talking about where they didn't do unto others. Because the laws don't mean anything. And you people still don't realize that. Law doesn't mean anything. Law is a euphemism for whatever fucking stupid rules the fucking assholes in charge who got into power by being scumbags in the first place decided should be the way we live our lives. Law is almost a euphemism for garbage. Always remember that. People don't. They think, oh, it's law. Law is like shit's written in stone tablets from God. No. Law doesn't mean anything. Reverend Billy didn't really break any laws, but what he did was 10 times more unethical than any law you could break. He didn't betray his enemies. He didn't fuck over his enemies. He fucked over his allies and his friends. So let's go back to the 2000. Oh, fuck, I forgot to put that on my thing about me running for mayor. Shit. I did a 5-piece diary online on on YouTube about my 2005 run for mayor, and I was listing some of the amazing accomplishments I had done because most of them have never been widely reported or reported at all. And there's myths out there, some good, some negative, but a lot of them are myths. And so, for instance, Reverend Billy ran for mayor in 2009. He had $50,000 to spend versus my 120. He had hundreds and hundreds of volunteers. He had ink in the New York Times and everywhere else. He had every advantage I did not have. He had a store on Lafayette. He had every possible advantage I did not have. If he had gotten as many votes as me, that would have been humiliating. That would have been humiliating. If him with $50,000 to my $120, him with his massive name recognition, massive followers, massive staff, etc., got the same amount of votes as me with no work or effort, that would be humiliating. But I got twice as many votes as him. I spent $120 to his $50,000. I got twice as many votes. He had a staff, I didn't. I got twice as many votes. He was getting covered in the New York Times and everywhere else, and I wasn't. And I got twice as many votes. He campaigned. I didn't. I got twice as many votes. I can go on and on and on, but I think you're getting the idea. Now, that's not to slag Reverend Billy. That's to say what he did was strategically a nightmare. Remember, everything I do is strategic. Well, sometimes it's not strategic if being strategic requires me to violate any of my principles, right? I could win all the time if I was willing to do anything or by any means necessary. I can't. My intellect cancels out my integrity. My integrity cancels out my intellect. It's like two heroes fighting each other. Oh, sorry. I'm a little sleep deprived. So in 2009, Reverend Billy decided to announce he was running for mayor. Now, his timing couldn't have been worse. He could have run any of the other years. He's been doing his thing in New York City for 20 years. He chose 2009, which was the most insane year to do it. Example, Bloomberg, Republican scumbag mayor, the most corrupt politician and businessman in American history, had just stolen democracy away. He got the city council with millions of bribes from our tax dollars. He bribed them to change the law and cancel 2 voter referendums on term limits. And the mayor got caught. He lied about every single thing he said. He lied about the reasons he was doing it. He lied about who was doing it, changing the law. He lied about everything. It was a work of art. And the media covered up all of his lies because they were they wanted him to run again because they were going to get $200 million from him if he ran again. Because remember, he was the largest advertiser in the history of political campaigns. I mean, it's not even a secret. We have the #1 briber in all recorded history, and all the people who get the bribes suddenly said, we think he should trash term limits and run again. I mean, could you make it dirtier? Could you make it more brazenly corrupt? Nope. And even a lot of his supporters flipped out and were very angry at Mike Bloomberg. Even a lot of people thought he was the greatest mayor of all time, said, whoa, this is super sleazy. In fact, no less than Mike Bloomberg himself had said previously, a year before that, to change term limits without a voter referendum would be despicable. Another point, he called it disgusting. Then he did exactly those things. And the media didn't want to really point out that he was disgusting. We now have a mayor claiming he is despicable and disgusting. I think that's newsworthy. But I'm kind of weird, everyone says. Even my friends will tell you I'm crazy. I think the media should tell the truth. I'm crazy. The media says they should be able to do whatever they want. Reverend Billy, likewise, I used to love Reverend Billy. Thought he was very good at what he did. Went to a lot of his shows. Well, not a lot of his shows. I know a lot of his singers. I wrote lyrics with Delfino for a documentary about him called What Would Jesus Buy? And when he was running for mayor, I said, uh-oh, this does not look like anyone's using their brains over there. Any vote he's going to take is going to come from liberals. Those are people who would have voted for the Democrat running against Mike Bloomberg, the Republican. Now, we had a Democrat who was pretty awful. They all are. Bill Thompson, black guy who was brainless, complete empty suit. But he could have beaten Bloomberg with his eyes plucked out. Don't know what the fuck that is. Sorry. he could have beaten Bloomberg. Remember, Bloomberg had defeated Bloomberg. With the term limits overthrow, everyone, right wing and left, were furious. They're like, "Oh, you think now you're just gonna come in now and buy at the third election? We're gonna stop you, you fucking crook." Firemen, policemen, teachers, everyone was united against him. He was such a crook on so many levels, even though he was still stealing hundreds of millions of tax dollars to bribe all these different groups with funds right before the election. He had no prayer of getting reelected, and they had to bring out all the heavy guns, and they cheated thousands of different things to help him steal the 2009 election, like cheating the polls. All the polls the whole year said, Mike Bloomberg is super popular. All you haters better just stay home and not vote because he's going to easily win the election. And then the day after the election, they said, "Oh shit! It looks like Brodeur was right. We said he was 20 points ahead. He won by 4 points." Okay, our polls were 400% off, but that's not that bad. Our poll numbers were 400% off. Actually, it's a little more, right? If it was 5%, oh no, wait. Well, Quinnipiac said they were. Was it Quinnipiac or Marist who said they were 400% off, and the other one said they were 100% off. Their statistics were 100% off. Oops! Don't you hate when you're 100% off? Oops! And you're a polling company. Don't get me started on that. Let's not digress. Bloomberg didn't have a prayer of winning, unless people like Reverend Billy, progressives, worked to split the anti-Bloomberg vote, which is what Reverend Billy did. Now, he can't even claim ignorance. Watch this. So when I found he was running, he was running on the Green Party line. Now, I had run for the Green Party nomination in 2001. I thought, I can give him some information. For instance, the Green Party is 10 times, in New York City at least, is 10 times dirtier than the Republican and Democratic parties in New York City. I mean, it's shocking to tell you that, but I know a lot more about politics and inside politics than anyone else does. I was on the Green Party ballot. I dealt with the Green Party, their meetings, everything else like that. Ethics-free. Less principles than Republicans or Democrats. I'm not kidding. And the Green Party exploded and destroyed itself because of all the corruption of the people running it, etc. Reverend Billy was running on the Green Party line. All right, whatever. And I went to one of his meetings. He had a meeting down in Tribeca of his staff. He wasn't there, but his girlfriend or wife, what's her name, was there, and a bunch of other people were there. And I was sitting back listening. I went with a friend, and we were listening. And I said, I'm pretty confident that they're not going to know what they're doing, and they're going to make a disaster. But maybe I can help. Let's see. Let's see if they know what they're doing. I go down there, and they've got great graphic skills. They're talking about the orange lettering versus blue lettering, whatever, and their layout's great and stuff like that. And I'm listening to this going, these guys don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know anything. Example, you tell me I'm wrong. Reverend Billy's slogan. Now, a slogan is sometimes the most important thing you can possibly have, right? Obama's was hope and change. Same ones as Reagan, same ones as Hitler. Shit works to manipulate people. Same thing as Martin Luther King Jr. It's easy to manipulate the masses. Reverend Billy, who's a master showman, ironically comes up with probably the stupidest slogan I've ever heard in my life, and you've ever heard in your life in the category of politics. His slogan mine was, you want free subways? Vote for CXP. Or different slogans like that. Do you want lower rent? Vote CXP. That's pretty catchy. Do you know how many people want lower rent? You would be surprised. Do you know how many people want free subways? About 95% of the voters. Here's Reverend Billy's slogan. Rise of the 500 neighborhoods. What? Rise of the 500 neighborhoods. That's your catchy slogan. Oh my God. Now, you can even go, and then, everything I saw him doing was suspicious. And I'm like, what the fuck? This seems to be, and he wasn't pitching ideas. You can go back and look. When I ran for mayor, and even other fringe candidates, et cetera, even the rent is too damn high, Jimmy McMillan, raises extremely legitimate points, and sometimes he's very effective. Rent is too damn high. You don't need to fancy it up any other way. Rent is too damn high. 25% property tax hike by Mike Bloomberg. Rent is too damn high. It hurts our economy. It hurts crime. It hurts domestic violence. It hurts everything to have people struggling to pay their rent and to be forced into smaller and smaller cages to survive. The rent is too damn high. Not only was that kind of a catchy slogan, it's become a catchphrase permanently in our culture. They use it's a meme or whatever. It's caught on everything. The blank is too damn high. They parodied him on national television, okay? Rise of the 500 Neighborhoods. Now remember, this is a master showman, Reverend Billy, and he's got his amazing think tank of liberals. Rise of the 500 Neighborhoods. Nobody knew what the fuck that meant. Oh, you're saying there's 500 neighborhoods in New York City? Okay. Why wouldn't you say, like, rise of the middle class? How about rise of... I mean, hey, revenge of the middle class is better. Anything. Revenge of the little guy. Revenge of the taxpayers. Rise of the 500 neighborhoods? As soon as I saw that, me and my friend said, wow. Wow, is this amateur hour? Is this like a bunch of junior high kids who think they're going to do good and make the world a better place? You're not even saying anything. Never mind that you're going to take votes. It's irrefutable that you're going to take votes away from the Democrats and help Bloomberg steal the election. But you're not even raising intelligent points. And if you go back and look at his literature and his flyers, his website, it was all empty shit. It was all basically about promoting Reverend Billy's career as a performer. It had nothing to do with the city of New York or exposing mayoral crimes or anything. It was one of the emptiest campaigns I'd ever seen, and I was really worried. At that first meeting, I only went to one, I think, because I said, wow, this is a joke. This is a lie and a joke. But I even asked him about things, too. Like, for instance, I said, he's famous. He's got a lot of name recognition as Reverend Billy. He's going to be on the ballot as Billy Talon or William Talon. Now, that's a pretty big divide in a world where people are very bad with details. He can't have Rev on the ballot. So he can't even be Reverend Billy Talon. He has to be Reverend... It's Reverend Billy, but people have to vote for Billy Talon. All right, right there, you've got a huge problem. Do you guys not know anything about running an effective campaign? Oh, my God. Name recognition is the most important thing. I ran because my name was already famous in the city for all the Giuliani arrests and things like that. I've been in the newspaper dozens and dozens of times, on the covers of newspapers, etc., and I have a distinctive name, Christopher X. Bradeur. It's kind of distinctive. Reverend Billy is distinctive. Billy Talon, maybe, but no one's ever heard of Billy Talon. And he's the guy on the ballot. The guy no one has heard of is on the ballot. Brilliant. Everything they did was that badly planned out. Then they ended up, because he's so popular and has so much support, they got a storefront on Lafayette Street, which is a pretty popular street here in Soho. A storefront. He's got a storefront in a rich area, right down the street from David Bowie's place, with people walking by all day long. Vote Reverend Billy, vote Reverend Billy. And I went in the store, and the literature was nonsense. Everything about it was nonsense. They were just wasting money. I mean, whether they got the storefront free or not is irrelevant. The whole campaign, they spent $50,000. He had his tweets were in the New York Times, all kinds of stuff. I saw him speak in public a number of times, and every time it was the same thing. He is not running legitimately. This is fake. And I wasn't the only one who pointed that out. Other people noted that, who liked Reverend Billy, that he was doing something really suspicious, and that if you followed a lot of the campaign contributions to him, you might be surprised to see some of them are coming from Bloomberg allies. Why would they fund a liberal who's going to take votes away from the Democrat and therefore split the vote of all the people united against Bloomberg to help a Republican, the most corrupt Republican in American history, steal a third term? Because Reverend Billy and his girlfriend were thinking of themselves and their own career. And it really hurts me to say that, because I always liked Reverend Billy and always supported what he did. Him and I are like cousins or brothers. He's been arrested many times for standing up to police bullshit and corporate bullshit in New York City, and so have I. But you can go back and look. I took votes away from the Republicans. Remember, I was kicking ass on Staten Island. Conservatives loved me almost as much as liberal voters, because I'm a professional and I destroyed this fake divide between conservatives and liberals. It was fabricated by the American corporations. No truth to it whatsoever. It's classic divide and conquer. I blew away Republicans everywhere I went. I stole votes away from Bloomberg and the Republicans. And remember, I also got the Independence Party hip to me. So I had all sides loving my campaign and loving my ideas. And I wasn't running to get votes. I was running to raise issues and awareness and let people know some of the secret facts about what was going on in government and all the lies they were being told by the media and the mayor. Reverend Billy got 9,000 votes, which is pretty humiliating. It shows that even most of his fans and friends and supporters rejected him, because thank God they were even smart enough to say, Why would I throw a vote away? I can stop the greatest maniac in American history, the biggest right-wing corporate piece of shit ever in American history. I can stop that piece of shit, or I can give my vote to Reverend Billy on a stupid exercise of vanity. And sadly, Bloomberg only won by, I think it was like 40,000 votes. I'm not actually positive. Might even be less than that, but I don't have time to look it up right now. Actually, probably should, but whatever. It doesn't make a difference what it was. Reverend Billy, of course. Oh, now before the election, of course, I had I sent a lot of emails to him and his staff as campaign manager. I tried to help him at times, but they didn't know what they were doing. And I even said, listen, what you guys can do, it's this simple. You can milk that he's running. I know, I didn't. I was rather polite about it. But I said, what you guys can do is you can do everything you're doing. And Reverend Billy at press, attention, speaking at rallies, all kinds of stuff. Great. Selling out shows at the Highland Ballroom, whatever. Good for him. Good for him. Spread the message. This is all you have to do. A week before the election, Reverend Billy goes public and says, ladies and germs, I've appreciated your support fully, etc., etc., etc. But stopping Emperor Mini Hitler Bloomberg is too important. And I'm announcing that I am withdrawing my name. I'm still going to be on the ballot because they already printed them up. But I'm asking all of my fans and supporters to vote, to unite with their fellow New Yorkers to vote for the Democrat so Mike Bloomberg does not steal a third term and murder the city more and more and more. That's all he had to do. He would have gotten a lot of press for that, and Bloomberg would have lost the election. But Reverend Billy and his people said, no, we're not going to do that. It's like, why? You're not going to get a lot of votes. You better hope you don't get a lot of votes, because if you do get a lot of votes, millions of people are going to blame you for tilting the election to Bloomberg. If you get more votes than the margin he beat the Democrat by, you're going to be blamed forever. So in a way, he's lucky he didn't get many votes. 9,000 votes with all the energy and money they spent is humiliating. Remember, I got 17,000 votes, spent $120, didn't campaign. He spent $50,000, got half as many votes as me, with a huge staff of supporters and media coverage. That's humiliating. And Bloomberg stole the election. He won by fucking 4%. Bloomberg spent $110 million against $6 million by the Democrat. Remember, Thompson spent $6 million. That's chump change in most elections, especially the mayor of New York. Bloomberg spent $110 million of his own money and over $200 million of our tax money, not including the bribes he used of our tax money to give to unions and other things to cheat their endorsements and stuff. He gave all kinds of bribes to people using our tax dollars. I'm talking about just $200 million in his publicity department and his press office. I could prove he spent over $2 billion to steal the 2009 election. But let's not go overboard here. He spent $300 million as the incumbent. Incumbents win 95% of the time automatically. Okay? But he spent over $300 million against a $6 million candidate who nobody liked, who had no charisma or personality. Neither does Bloomberg, but he'd paid everybody off. And Bloomberg only won. He had the endorsements of every paper. He had everything. He had the endorsements of every left-wing paper, the endorsements of every right-wing paper. All good government groups endorsed him. Everyone sold out the Democrat to kiss up to the billionaire media mogul who threw money to everybody. And still, Bloomberg barely won election with 4%. He beat his opponent by only 4%. After spending $300 million to $6 million, having all the endorsements, having all the unions back him up, all the traditional Democratic allies, all of them sold out the Democrats in 2009 to kiss up to Hitler, Super Hitler. Reverend Billy alone could have stopped that. And remember, I was going to stop it, and then Delfino, Harry Stuckey, the DA, a lot of reporters, the Trachtenberg family slideshow players, all of them united to neutralize me. I personally could have stopped Bloomberg's election via 100 different ways, because I would have been out there exposing all of his crimes. Because remember, everything everyone reads in the newspapers every day in New York City is filled with lies about how Mayor Bloomberg is the greatest mayor ever, just like every paper in Germany was about how Chancellor Hitler was great. He had a 90% approval rating. Same shit, different year. They just changed the swastikas. I mean, they just changed the logos on the armbands. You people still don't get it. But what else can I tell you, though? I think that's pretty much the gist of it. When I tried to reason with not Sarita, what was her name? Reverend Billy's girlfriend or wife, she was nasty and evasive before the election. Just nasty and evasive. That should tip you off. A person who believes in what they're doing isn't afraid to publicly debate. A person who's doing something for ulterior motives. And we could legally pin every murder and rape that happens under Bloomberg and every eviction, everything else, on the cheating of Reverend Billy and his girlfriend and their followers. So please, there has to be accountability. When people do bad things, they must pay for it. Now, Reverend Billy's going to pay for it anyhow, and so is, what's her name? Yeah, their career's going to get better. But any extra money they make is going to be stolen out the back door with the fucking record tax hikes and everything else, bill hikes, water fee hikes, by the biggest crook in human history. Again, if you think you can name a bigger crook than Mike Bloomberg, well, why don't we debate it in public? We can charge admission, and people are going to watch the greatest beatdown in history as I destroy everything you say, because you don't know 1% about what Bloomberg did. Hell, you don't know 1% about what Hitler did. I can put Bloomberg against Caligula anytime, in any category. I'll put him against Stalin and Mao in any category. What are you afraid of? Why will no one, not even one of Bloomberg's fans, will ever debate me on any of the facts about Bloomberg? Curious. So, dear listener, remember, Reverend Billy should never be forgiven. He murdered women and children. He murdered elderly people. He murdered the weak. Women are being raped every day in the city because of Reverend Billy's stupidity and greed. I'm so ashamed. And Reverend Billy, if I'm wrong, why don't we debate it, film it, and put it on YouTube? You'll certainly prove me wrong. If you did nothing wrong or unethical. If you did, in fact, not help murder women and children, I'm willing to hear your side of the story. But you're going to plead the fifth. And everybody, left wing and right wing, knows why you're pleading the fifth. So please. It's too late. You can never undo the damage. Remember, we could rebuild Europe after Nazis ruined it. We can't rebuild New York. You cannot literally undo the damage that Mike Bloomberg did. Example, Coney Island is gone forever. There's never going to be, right? I mean, all the luxury housing he spent tens of billions of our tax dollars to build, to evict affordable units and their tenants. You can't. No one's going to say, well, you know what, we're going to borrow $20 trillion. But we're going to have to evict hundreds of thousands of people from these luxury skyscrapers that destroyed skylines. We're going to have to remove the Freedom Tower. It's going to cost a couple billion, all right, a lot of billion. Moving those businesses is going to cost billions. We're going to have to remove the memorial we built and all the billions we spent on that. We're going to have to spend billions to rebuild the Twin Towers. No, it can't be rebuilt. Nobody wanted the Freedom Tower. Bloomberg and Pataki cheated that fake public election. So everybody chose the Freedom Tower. No, they didn't. You wouldn't allow them to choose the Twin Towers, which we, the people who owned the Twin Towers, wanted back. It was public property, you fucking liars. You pieces of shit. You can't undo the damage. Half the fucking city has lost its fucking waterfront views. Most mom and pops now are gone. Those mom and pops are never coming back. We can never pay off the debt of the secret borrowing of Bloomberg. Every year the debt service grows and grows. Not only can we not pay it off, we can't even keep the status quo intact. The debt is exploding every minute of every day. New York City can never undo the damage by Mayor Bloomberg, Reverend Billy, Jessica Delfino, Trachtenberg family slideshow players, reporters like David Seifman, Celeste Katz, Adam Lisberg, Village Voice, Time Out New York, The Onion, all of these people united to help a man they hated steal another election, just like everyone who hated Hitler helped Hitler. Humans want to be on the winning team. They're cowards, gutless cowards, selfish, gutless cowards. And the only happy ending and bright side of this is that you all will pay dearly. You already have paid dearly, literally and figuratively, for your crimes. And you ain't seen nothing yet, baby. You ain't seen nothing yet. Everyone today says Mayor Bloomberg has murdered the city. Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet. You're going to wish he murdered this city. You're going to wish he was as considerate as the Nazis in ending people's pain and suffering. You're going to wish. Because we're talking about, unless a meteor hits the city or global warming or something saves us, we're talking about thousands of years of slavery. All the result of the actions of Bloomberg, Reverend Billy, The Onion, to Trachtenbergs, and many other people who all united to help the most corrupt man in American history, and I argue world history. Hitler, not 5% as evil as Mike Bloomberg. If you don't believe that, if you think I'm exaggerating, let's debate it, film it, and put it on YouTube. You're going to be the first person in history to give me a beatdown. Why not? What do you got to lose? I mean, of course I'm going to make you look like a fucking ignorant jackass who knows nothing about anything. But maybe I'm wrong. Let's debate it. Hitler versus Bloomberg. I've already written exposés where I go point by point, because you don't remember any of this shit. You don't even know that Hitler was anti-tobacco. You don't even know that Hitler was pro-animal rights. You don't even know that Hitler helped create the Volkswagen Beetle so the middle class could have an affordable fucking vehicle. You don't know that the Nazis were anti-war profiteering. You don't know shit. You know the garbage they fed you since you were born, which is America #1. Communism and socialism and caring about the poor is evil. You know the stupid shit they've brainwashed you with every minute of your life. The Nazis were just mass murdering evil people. Okay, we funded them, but I mean, if they were so bad, why is the CIA created using Nazi intelligence? I mean, we can go on and on and on. They don't tell you the truth, people. You don't know the fuck what is going on. So trust Commander Cranium and his Cranium Report. And remember, your planet is fucking doomed. It's way past the point of no return. Head for the hills.